call this town hall meeting to order for August 22nd, 2019. I'd like to welcome everybody. As I said, I'm Bill Pickens, Chairman of the Board of the County Commission, and your County Commissioner for District 1. If everybody would please stand, we'll do the invocation. Let's go to Lord. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this glorious day you've given us and all the wonders in it, Father God. We just thank you for this opportunity, Father God, to gather here with the commissioners and the staff and with the citizens, Father God, to just discuss issues, present some budget numbers and better place plan figures, and Father God, just take questions from the citizens. Father, we thank the Women's Club of Crescent City for hosting this, Father God, and for a great turnout. We ask in Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
I would like to introduce Brett, the mayor of Crescent City, and he's going to introduce any other commissioners that may be here.
So that's going to be a very short introduction. I believe, raise your hand, I think that's it, just me, but I do want to take this opportunity to thank the Greater Florida Women's Club for hosting this event. I appreciate the county coming down here and working with our citizens down here in the city. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do see two officials from Pomona Park, Vic Zatkowski and Jim Griffin. If you would just stand or signify. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Pickens.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. I don't want to miss Miss Shirley Griffin and and Judy Satowski. They're very involved in Pomona Park and the Neighborhood Watch. So, Barbara, I just want to thank you on behalf of the county and the commission for y'all hosting this meeting here. Would all the members of the Women Club please stand so we can recognize y'all? If you haven't been in the Women's Club for a while, they've completely redone the inside of it, and they did it themselves, and it looks a lot better. I'll just go ahead and tell you that because it was kind of drab before. So, but anyway, but thank you for what y'all have done. So I'd like to introduce a few other people. I'll go ahead and start with Sheriff Gator DeLoach, and then Chief Deputy Colonel Joe Wells to my left. Okay, my fellow county commissioners, I have Jeff Rawl to my left, county commissioner from District 2. Commissioner Terry Turner from District 3. Commissioner Buddy Goddard from District 5. And Commissioner Larry Harvey from District 4 had a advanced county commissioner training class that he's at in Tallahassee, and he sends his regrets. So that's where Commissioner Larry Harvey is. The young lady taking the notes is Sarah Oliver. She's our clerk to the board. And Kenny Downs is the Chief Deputy Clerk of Court, Mr. Kenny Downs. County Administrator Terry Suggs, and Deputy County Administrator Matt Reynolds. And quietly sitting over there, hope to be not noticed, is Miss Brenda Bridges, the property appraiser. She does a great job.
Tax collector.
Oh, excuse me, tax collector. Okay. Have I missed anybody? Okay. Like I said, this is a town hall meeting. We're going to present some information. We did have some agendas that were passed out. We're going to have Matt Reynolds, not Matt Buckles, talk about the budget, and then we'll move down, and you can ask a few questions about that, and then we'll move down to Better Place Plan, and then we'll open it up for questions from the audience, okay? So right now I'll turn it over to Mr. Matt Reynolds.
I'll come and speak at the podium tonight so you guys can get me on the recording. Apologize for my voice. Actually, I'm lucky I have my voice. Tuesday at the board workshop, the board meeting, I actually couldn't speak, so the joke was, sorry, everybody was saying that hopefully I'll have my voice back by tonight so that we could talk about the budget tonight. So that's good. I prepared a pie chart over here to kind of graphically demonstrate the county's general fund budget, and this pie chart is just the general fund budget. Also, let me back up a little bit. On the, I believe it's on YouTube, and Bob, can we get to it from the county website? Is there a link
Yes.
to the budget workshops, the recordings of the budget workshops?
Yes. Audio only, but yes.
Audio only?
Yes.
Not the long one that we did that whole day, that was recorded?
If it's in the conference room, it's audio only.
But the video's on there, it should be, or audio?
The audio, yes.
Okay.
We can get that up there.
At any rate, we had several other budget workshops that were much, much longer and went much more into detail on the county's budget. And so, as well as my presentation, I had a 48-something, 50-something slide presentation with a lot more detailed information on the county's entire budget. So I would recommend that anybody that's interested in hearing more about the county budget, to go on the website and listen to the workshop and look at the presentation as well, because I'm just going to do a high-level overview tonight so that we don't take up, because we could sit here for hours and talk about the budget. So just real quick, the total budget for the county this year, as of the workshop that we presented Tuesday, is approximately $128 million. But again, that is not all general fund. Of that $128 million, about $25.6 million is in reserves in the various different funds that the county has. $11 million of that amount is internal service funds, such as our internal service fund for our liability insurance, health insurance, and our fleet maintenance. Another $40 million is actually in the fire MSTU fund. That's the 1.1 mills that people that in the incorporated area of the county and some municipalities participate in. That budget is approximately $4.3 million. The transportation fund, which is the fund for the maintenance of roadways, mowing of roadways, grading, that is about $6.6 million. That is funded with gas taxes. Better Place is part of that $40 million I mentioned. This year it's about $10.5 million. Of that, approximately $6.1 million is the annual revenues. So there's a little over $4 million in carry forward in the Better Place Fund this year. Utilities Fund is a little over $3 million, almost 3.1. And then the sanitation, solid waste, landfill, there's several different names for it. That budget is approximately $15.2 million. So that makes up the $40 million. The remainder is the general fund budget, as well as much smaller funds that the county has. So getting back to the general fund budget, as you can see, according to the pie chart, the largest section of the county's general fund budget is the transfer to constitutional officers. It's about $27.5 million. Of the general fund's operating expenses, which is almost $51 million. So I can't see the percentages, but that's a little over half. No, that's okay, Commissioner. Yeah, sure. The next largest section is public safety at about $8.4 million. Included in public safety are departments such as the EMS, which is about $5.7 million, permitting and inspections, which is about $1.1 million, code enforcement, $300,000, emergency management, $200,000, medical examiner and transport cost of $400,000, animal control at $500,000, and that's the next largest slice of the budget. The next slice, which says human services, it's almost $3 million. The vast majority of that is actually monies that the county does not have really any control over. That is the county's reimbursement to the state for Medicaid and HCRA costs, as well as the county health department has about $540,000 included in that. Then we get down to some of the smaller slices. Some of those slices, the county actually doesn't have all that much control over. Things like liability insurance, building and grounds maintenance. Those are just annual operating costs, about 1.7 million on all of the buildings and maintenance on the buildings that the county commission or the county as a whole owns. So really the other slices such as IT, it's about 2 million. Culture and recreation, which is parks and recreation as well as libraries. Parks and rec is about 1.1 million. Libraries is about 850,000. Then the general services or general governmental cost. That includes budget, county attorney, purchasing department, HR, planning and zoning, and administration of the county. All of those combined is about 1.8 million. So that pretty much breaks down the county general fund budget as a whole. Like I said, if anybody wants to see a whole lot more detail and hear a whole lot more discussion on the county's budget and more detail on it, please go on the county's website, look up my presentation, go on YouTube, listen to the recording, and if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now. Or
Can you tell us what transfer to constitutional officers means?
the transfers to constitutional officers are, county has several different constitutional officers, such as clerk of court, tax collector, property appraiser, supervisor of elections, sheriff's office. All of those are independently elected constitutional officers of the county, and the county does fund those constitutional officers' budgets.
That's the entire budget or just the payroll?
That's their entire, that's all of the constitutional officers together, and that's their entire operating budget, yes, that's correct. Mr. Peters?
You said, if I heard you correctly, the medical examiner's office is $400,000?
Yes, sir, medical examiner and transport costs are approximately $392,400.
That's a lot of money.
The county is actually, we have a tri-county agreement with 2 other counties to fund the medical examiner's office. So we actually do not have the medical examiner's office, but we partner with 2 other counties. And so that transport is back and forth to that medical examiner's office, and that is our, the transport costs as well as our share of that agreement. If we were to fund the medical examiner's office by itself, that would of course most likely be multiplied by at least 3, if not more, because I believe our share is quite a bit less than the other counties.
What are the 2 other counties?
St. Johns County, and I believe it is Flagler. Yes. Yes, sir.
Seems like there's really not a lot of information concerning 54% of the budget. There's no breakdown of the constitutional officers transfer funds, which is 54%.
I have the total amounts for each constitutional. I can read those off. I have approximately $1 million for the supervisor of elections, 1.86 million for the property appraiser, 1.64 million for clerk of court, 1.23 million for tax collector, and 21.8 million for the sheriff.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matt. We'll go down to Better Place Plan, and Administrator Suggs.
You want me to come up there, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt had the difficult job of sharing this year's potential budget with you and the difficulty that he had, and commissioners had of balancing the budget. So I'm just going to share a little bit of information with you here tonight, and then I'll be around later if you want to ask some more questions. But the good news is this, is for the second year we're able to balance our budget moving forward without any use of reserves. That's a good thing, okay? For about 6 years prior, we've been using reserves to balance our budget. The second thing is the Board of County Commissioners has imposed a imposed policy to make sure that we keep at least 10% of our in reserves, which is about $5 million. So we have that we built into a policy that we can't drop below. We also have put in about $3.5 to $3.7 million in usable reserves. These are reserves that we'll use for capital purchases and for projects that will come up throughout the year. And we also moved 1.5 or 1.35 to an insurance fund to change from fully insured to self-insured, which is a program that we anticipate a return on our investment this coming year of about $300,000. Okay, so those are the fiduciary responsibilities that the commissioners have made and given the staff, and so we're working with those responsibilities, and it's doing good, and we're working hard to make sure that we're able to be sustainable in those areas. Another decision that the Board of County Commissioners made was the Better Place Plan. The Better Place Plan was a plan that was voted on by you folks, the citizens of Putnam County, to put in place a sales tax that we will use, again, in a fiduciary manner. I want to applaud the commissioners because they put a self-imposed 60% rule in where 60% of those funds are now going to be made sure that we use those on roads and dirt to pave projects, resurfacing projects, drainage projects, so that again is being very responsible for the taxpayers and their dollars, and I appreciate that as well. This past year alone, we spent over $1 million on drainage repairs from Hurricane Irma. So that was a big deal, and we were able to do that because we had the funds to do that because of all the hard work that's been done in the last couple of years. How do we get things done when we don't have the funding, because we are a ready community, a financially challenged community, where we have to partner real hard with our other agencies, such as the state of Florida, Florida Department of Transportation, St. Johns River Water Management District. And in the last couple of years, we've gotten about $20 million collectively from those agencies. And we've used those dollars to do things like we've put in, we're doing septic conversions in Horse Landing and Pico Road. That was an environmental concern because every time that we have a major storm event, those properties flood, which then causes an environmental concern for the river. So we're working to take those concerns away, and we're using dollars that were given to us by the Water Management District to do that. So it's not, it's not coming out of the general fund, but yet we're being fiduciary responsible and we're doing things for the environment. Another thing we're doing is, FDOT projects, Ash Lake Boulevard, Fort Gates Ferry, projects like that. Those are funded by FDOT. If you haven't been reading in the paper lately, we've had a lot of work going on out Fort Gates Ferries and other places that needs to get completed, and we're working hard to get that done. So those are projects that are going. We've been working with our congressmen and our senators up in Washington, D.C. We've been up there 2 or 3 times meeting with those folks, trying to get money back here in the state of Florida and Putnam County for other projects that would be very beneficial to the county. And I'm glad to say and proud to say that we've gotten money so far to fund that study at our barge port. That is one of the areas of economic development that we're looking very seriously at on how we can make our barge port more viable to not only us as the administration, but to the citizens, and make that a revenue source for us. So we're looking at that. Another project that we're looking at is a water project that will look at Paradise Point as well as Dunn's Creek area. That's a $27 million project. And it's a project that's gotten a lot of traction in DC, and we're hoping that we'll, again, get some funding to do that. We'll do 2 things. That, again, will be an environmental concern that we'll be able to remove some folks off of the systems out there so when it floods, they don't lose their systems and it doesn't pollute the river. But the biggest thing it does is it creates a revenue source for Putnam County, because those people will then be utilizing the services that are provided by Putnam County, like water and sewer. So it will help us generate a revenue there, spread that cost out, hopefully do some more things like lower the millage rate like we were able to last year. But one other thing that we've done this year, and I need to give Commissioner Turner the accolades he deserves for this one, is we've been working for a year on our landfill. When I got here, there was a discussion going up, I guess before I arrived here, about whether or not we're going to sell the landfill or keep the landfill, do something with the landfill. Well, just this week we were able to go out and recruit a vendor to come in, and we're going to be bringing a little more solid waste to our landfill, making it more viable. When we hope that we'll be able to sustain that, and who knows, another 3, 4, 5 years, maybe that assessment that we're looking at every year on our tax bill might be able to go down a little bit more. So those are the things that we're trying to do. And these are the things that your Board of County Commissioners are doing. And so those are the projects that we got going right now. That's how we fund some of these projects. We're not doing it on the backs of the general fund. We're doing it by partnering with folks around the state, as well as our nation's capital, to get funds in here to be able to do those things. So like I said, got any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. I'll be around all night. So.
Okay, thank you, Administrator. So, I think at this time, because I didn't do it at the beginning, I'm going to give the microphone to each of the other commissioners and to just say a few words. And I also want to mention that Commissioner Goddard and Commissioner Turner's wives are here, Laura and Shondell. And when you get elected, your spouse gets elected with you. And hopefully you get a free dinner out of it tonight, ladies. But anyway, thank you for being here. So, Barbara, this will come out of here, won't it? Before I turn it over to Commissioner Rawls, Commissioner Rawls was really the commissioner that prompted us to consider having town hall meetings. And so they've already had one over in Interlochen, I think it was August 8th. So I want to thank Commissioner Rawls for prompting us to do that and getting with staff. And Ms. Chris Peterson was very involved in getting this started, so I thank her also. So Commissioner Rawls.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that it's actually Ms. Peterson that reached out to me and asked me if I'd be willing to come down here and speak to a group. And I said, well, if we're going to do this, why don't we invite the rest of the commissioners? But getting out here tonight, I think this is a great opportunity for us to engage the public and also for you guys to engage us, talk about the future. One of the things that Mr. Suggs did not mention is that we're in the process of getting strategic planning started. Strategic planning is going to be extremely important going forward because that's how we'll lay out potentially a 1, 3, 5, and 10-year plan. And it's going to involve a lot of public input. It's going to involve input from stakeholders that are not just employers, but the public as well. So anything you can do to participate, that I would greatly encourage and ask that you would. The other thing that we're doing next year, a lot of kudos to Mr. Turner for this, is pushing the agenda for getting our comp plan revised. We have a comp plan that's very old and needs to be revised, so the contract for that's been let out, and hopefully this time next year you'll have something new to look at in the form of a comprehensive plan, which will involve land planning, future land use planning. It also involves housing and economic development. So again, any participation that you might be able to have in that, we greatly appreciate. Been here for about 8.5 months. It's been a roller coaster, to be honest with you, but it's very enjoyable. I do appreciate the opportunity to be able to get out here and speak to you guys. And any questions that you have, any comments, I would be more than willing to entertain. Thank you very much.
Just want to piggyback on that first comment by one of the comments from Commissioner Rawls is strategic planning. We will be doing a strategic plan. We should be starting to move forward with that in the next month or two. And one of the options that's available to us that I'd like for us to exercise is getting out in the community and holding 2 or 3 meetings with our stakeholders in different parts of the county so we can actually get a viewpoint from everybody that we can before we move forward with it. It's going to be a multi-step process, but I do know that we're going to be holding some meetings in the community, and so we would like to make sure that we get the news out and have as many people that can participate because it's your plan. It is what we're trying to do for the betterment of Putnam County, and it will be a plan, a living and breathing document that will have measurables and goals and objectives in it. And so it will be to everyone's benefit to participate if they could, and we'll make sure we get that news out when we're going to hold a meeting and try to hold one in different parts of Putnam County so everybody can participate.
Will those meetings be in the evening so everyone can come?
No, ma'am. We'll work on scheduling. There may be some during the day. There may be some in the evening. We'll work with our facilitator on that. I do know that there were some options that were thrown out. I have no issue with it one way or the other. We just want to make sure that we get a broad spectrum of folks that can participate because, again, I think it's a very important document that when we finish this document, it takes it's a representation of the whole, absolutely.
Would you be able to bring this, your meeting to Willaca? Because I think the people of Willaca would like to have an input too.
Are we talking about the town hall meeting type setup here?
Great if we could do that too.
Yeah, that will, I'm sure the commissioners will talk about that, and we'll figure out if we can do that or not. And this has been a great opportunity for us to get out in the county, so absolutely.
Mr. Turner?
I'm gonna let Commissioner Goddard go first.
Too kind, too kind. I was gonna stand up, because I'm not that tall, so I won't take that. But it is good to see everybody out here, and I know that this is something that a lot of people have been wanting for us to bring it out there into the community. We did well out in the Interlochen area. Everybody enjoyed it. Down here in the south end, we wanted to make sure it was done. We have another one on the 12th of September in Barden. I think that's our next scheduled one. We don't have another one after that one that I know of. But I just want to tell, I am just so proud of these commissioners. What we were faced with when we got there did not look good. We were in debt. We were taking money from our reserves, and we just put, we're not doing that. We're not doing that anymore. And so by putting money, it didn't hit on, by putting money into the reserves like we did, that gave us the extra money that we could use to fund our insurance. And that's big. That's really big. That could, if we could recap that money in the next 3 to 4 years, maybe 5 years, but we could recap that money and the insurance will be self-sustaining, and we can put that money back into our reserves, which that's basically sitting there in case we get hit by these severe storms or whatever. But this whole group works so well in trying to do with what we've got, not raising taxes, keeping our millage down, and getting our services, going good. So I'm proud of them. We finally, we started pushing, getting rid of some of our surplus properties. These are properties that are just sitting there. The county owns them. We don't need them. We've got to get them back into the hands of the people. We just marketed 22, if I'm not mistaken, and 21 of those sold, which we'll approve or disapprove of it on our next meeting. But again, I'm just so excited for where we're going. We are really making changes, and you need to really be appreciative of some of these guys, especially this one. This one has really done great with the landfill and a lot of things. He sees things in a good eye. Anyway, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner Goddard. Yeah, exactly. I get the gold star tonight. I wanted him to go first because I wanted him to have the thunder over this land selling program that we've been doing. It was his idea, and I didn't want to steal his thunder. But not only on top of that, what we did was we designated the money that's going to come from those sales to where we could use it to clean up some of the blighted areas that have been around this county for the last 15 or 20 years that they haven't had the money to fix. So we're going to take the money from the sales of the land that was land that the county didn't need or want. It was just cheated back to the county through tax deeds. And we're going to take that money and try to abate some of these old places around that have just been an eyesore for most of our entire lives. So that's a good program. I appreciate all the accolades on the landfill, but it takes a commission of 5 to make it work. And I appreciate the support that we got, because I know that Administrator Suggs doesn't want to say it, but I'd like to see the day when we don't pay anything that deal with our garbage at all. And if we got the landfill successful enough, it doesn't have to be regional. We don't have to sell it. Just get it successful enough where we don't have to pay $331 a year to dump our own garbage. So that would be my goal for it, is just get it to where we didn't have to pay to make the landfill operate. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Peterson for getting this put together, and Chairman Pickens for taking it and putting down the time and the place and trying to get it done. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners. Yeah, I'd also like to thank Paula Nichols, the president, I think she's the current president of the Credit City Women's Club, and then Mindy Estep was really instrumental in getting this put together. So at this time, we'll open it up for some more questions.
I got a question. You said this down inside the property. Is this property is being sold going back on a taxable base?
Yes,
So
these.
this property go back to private hands where it's going to be paying taxes?
Yes, sir. This one.
That's number one.
The last resort was when it's sheeted back to the main tax holder, which would be the county. Correct me if I'm incorrect. So we have these properties and we don't want them. Most of them are residential properties, and some of them need some abatement and cleaning up. And so we put these out for bid, and we've done it twice. And so these people are tasked with, they put a bid in. If they win it, they have to clean it up, and then they'll bring it back onto the tax roll. So it's a win-win situation. Okay. Yep.
Actually, it's a two-win situation for the citizens as well as Putnam County, because the property will go back on the tax roll and be a viable piece of property that taxes will be paid on. But the revenue that's generated from the sale of those properties is going back into the general fund to be able to, like Commissioner Turner was saying, to do some abatement cleanup on some other properties, so we can afford to do that and do some cleanup around our community as well. So we're using those dollars to do that, so it's a win-win for Putnam County.
Okay. Next question, Diane.
The third place plan, 60% on roads, is that just to repair the roads, or is any of that money going to be used to handle the wastewater that destroyed the roads in the first place?
I'm going to start, and then I'm going to hand it to you. The 1 cent sales tax really was sold for capital improvements, okay, which could be, wastewater and stuff like that, and then dirt to pavement, okay? So most of that will be used for dirt to pavement, and then we need a resurfacing plan, because if you don't resurface at a certain period of time with the age of a road, then it deteriorates down where it's almost as expensive to just redo it again. So that's where we'll be there, and I'll have Commissioner Turner elaborate a little more on it.
What we did this year for the first time is that not only did we ask for 60% of it to be used for roads, we also said that we wanted to take $1 million out of the straight dirt to pave and use it for other projects, such as drainage and such as resurfacing the roads. As these roads have gotten older, traditionally, they haven't used any money to resurface the roads that we have, except for the gas tax revenues. And so they fluctuate every year. So this year, we asked that $1 million of the Better Place money go towards resurfacing and drainage projects instead of just all of it straight dirt to pave like it has been traditionally.
And we're going to try to, in the next few years, to try to get that to 70% for the roads. Yes, ma'am.
Is the road going to be, do you know what the repair status is of the road going into Willaca? I think it's 308, where it flooded for several months and couldn't get in or out. Do you know what the status is of that?
Yeah, I understand. Is the road coming apart? And not to be smart, but I've lived here all my life, and I've seen water over at one time, and I'll be 60 years old in about 4 months. So it was just a freak. It was just nature. We got 75 inches of rain, and if you looked at the topography, I guess, that's a bowl. And when the ground gets so saturated, it's going to go to the lowest spot. And Mr. Mills, who lives right there, he's 70, and he said he's only seen it twice. So right now, the county really can't afford to do something with that because it probably costs $500,000 to go in there or more to raise it up and put drainage. So we will maintain that road if it starts to come apart, but I really don't see any plans to do anything right
You
now.
don't have a plan in place, an emergency plan in place for in case we have a hurricane? Because I know my husband works in storm water and sewer for 40 years. So he's looked at that retention pond up there, and it stays fairly high, and the retention pond down low just sits like a toilet bowl with no drainage. So you see, like, I come from Seminole County where things are changing a lot, and they're changing a lot, and I watch my neighbor's house get flooded from the subdivision, and the county had to eventually buy that house with the federal grant money because they kept getting flooded, and they set up a pump there for 3 years to keep them from flooding. So, I mean, that's a main artery going in and out of there, and so to me, it's like, this should be put on a priority because it's a public safety issue.
Okay, I know that the town of Willaca, because Mayor Sands was in the talks with Public Works and the county administrator and the commission, they're working on with the forestry and with U.S. Fish and Wildlife about getting some drainage so it could drain to the St. Johns River. And we got interviewed by the Jacksonville news station on this about why we weren't doing anything about it. Well, you can't do anything about it when it's flooded. Okay, but now it's not flooded and you can pass it. And if you look just less than a mile north, you can do Old Willaca Dirt Road, which is paved. Okay, it's not a nice road, but you can still get to where you want to get to 17 that way. You can go north on 309 and get to 17. You can go south about 2.5, 3 miles to 308 and get to 17. So it was an inconvenience. I appreciate your concern, but this commissioner felt it was an inconvenience rather than a real safety hazard. Emergency vehicles, if they have to, they're coming through that water. Passenger cars, that's a little different situation. So, yes, ma'am.
Does the county have any plan for upgrading internet and phone service? And I'm speaking specifically of fiber optics to homes.
We could probably let Bob talk about that for the next hour, but might be just two of y'all in the room. I'll give kudos to Mayor Peterson and City Administrator Patrick Kennedy. Wherever I've been with them at a legislative delegation, which would have Representative Payne and Senator Perry there, or the congressional one with Congressman Yoho there, when they're up speaking, the first thing out of their mouth is broadband. We're working on it, but it takes money, and we're just not there. I sat in on a meeting with a group of citizens today, and when I was leaving, I spoke about that, and I think for the whole county, it's an issue for the whole county. But we're not there yet. So, Bob, do you want to say a quick blurb about it?
I'll give you this. We are looking at many different things, not just fiber. We're looking at utilizing the old TV band, UHF, VHF. We are possibly going to beta test and experiment with this to see if it's viable or not. Some of the numbers look impressive, but until you put it in our environment, with our trees and our terrain, will it work? Getting fiber in the ground is expensive. We had some damage in the city of Palaca. 1,300 feet to repair is going to cost us about $13,000. It's not cheap. So fiber would be great until we get the big companies to invest in us, and it's all in the numbers, how many people are going to be playing it. They're not going to come to town and play with us. We'd love to do more. I've worked with Patrick on how to get fiber here, how to get fiber in some of the other areas, and all the companies look at us and just say, "Here's money." We've asked Yoho for money every year, every time they come to town. So we'd love to do it. I think it'd be great for us, but it's about how to get it done.
Administrator Suggs?
The bottom line is there's actually been conversation And there is conversation and will be conversation on how we might be able to fix this in the future. Just a couple of years ago, before I got here, I don't know how much conversation there was, but I can tell you that Bob Stender, the IT director, Matt Reynolds, myself, the commissioners, we meet with folks as often as we can, as well as Yoho. You brought Congressman Yoho's office up. There's programs that we're reaching out through them to see if we can't get some assistance. So I guess the bottom line is there is conversation, and we are trying to find a solution, a viable solution. It may not be tomorrow, it may not be next week, but we are having conversation because we need our entire community connected. You know, it will benefit the entire community. So that is a conversation we're having almost weekly now.
I can say something real quick too. One thing that Bob didn't touch on is fiber in the ground may be a thing of the past here shortly. So and that's one of the reasons why nobody's rushing in to put a bunch of fiber in, because is it Bezos or that's going to put the 15 satellites up? One of the big guys, either SpaceX or Bezos. One of them's looking at
They've
satellites.
all played in it some. Microsoft, Amazon, Google, they've all dabbled in it. But I agree, at some point wireless will work.
Yeah.
Well, we all know what happens right now in our
Right.
homes.
So we may not see the fiber going in the ground. And, you know, if you go to the larger metropolitan areas, I can tell you they've got high-speed internet, and it's slow. It's slow compared to what we have here. So one blessing that we do have is by being sparsely populated. I go to Sanford, Florida in the middle of the daytime and try to connect it. Even on their high-speed broadband, there's so many people hitting it. It's slow. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I've lived here for a little over a year, and from Longwood, Florida. And the ability to access the internet is horrible here. We have fiber. We have fiber all over town. We have it running up and down 17. I have personally gone out and taken pictures to show to certain people here on the commission. The problem is that last part, which does not have to be hardwired to get broadband to your home. There are very few areas in town here that have it. What's the holdup? I know that you've gone to Yoho.
I'm going to go on a limb here and say it's probably density and population, because there's not enough customer service base to come in and put in the infrastructure.
As a citizen and a taxpayer, though, I've chosen to live in a more rural area. I
Right.
understand that. My God.
It's
2019,
that's a
and we
function of the
elected
private
people
sector.
to look out for us to do these things, whether they're county or city.
That's a function of private sector.
Right.
Have not.
Okay, yes, ma'am. All right. I think there was a question back here before I get to Brett. I don't know if you recognize Miss Judy West, who's Crescent City Commission woman. Miss Judy, thank you for being here. Okay, Brett.
I just want to say, September 26th, we're going to pass the final passage of the budget at 5:15, but after that, we're going to have Windstream is going to meet with the public. Bring your boxing gloves, I'm going to bring mine. They know they want to work with us. They've been, you can see they've been working all over town. I see there is fiber to these boxes, and there's copper out of that. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. Technology is changing. I'd love to hear what they have to say. If I could get back to the property that you guys have and turning that over to the private sector, we work with you guys. And it's one of the things I've tried to do being mayor is all the blight I saw when I first moved to town. And we've gotten rid of some of the properties. We got a property from the county, turned it over to us, and we abated that property. We paid to do that, and we gave the property to a neighbor who's now paying taxes on it. It also increases the value of every other property on that block when you do that. So it's a slow process, it's expensive, but if we work together, we can get some stuff done.
Alan?
This is last week. Hotel called up, said they're providing new services now.
They're what?
They're providing new high-speed services now.
Okay. All done.
They just called this last week when I'm over there. I'm on board there right now with the open new high speed service. This is last week. So I don't know if they're making progress or not.
Do they know where Crescent City is? That's happened before, where they call it out for something, oh, no, we don't offer it there.
I'm 4 blocks away.
We already see fiber optic that, Infinity has, who's it, Windstream. It's Unity and Windstream have, but I've also seen Altel. Okay, so Altel also has fiber optics here in Crescent City. So it's just a matter of tapping into it to get that broadband.
Yeah, we all understand that it will help every area of Putnam County. I think there's a lot of home-based businesses in South Putnam, and I think more would come, because if you can do your business wherever you want to, because of the internet, you may want to move to a different location and get out of the snow. So, anyway, yes ma'am.
Sorry, I have to go for football in 15 minutes, so I just wanted to bring up a lighter subject. I represent South Putnam Pop Warner. We restarted this Pop Warner 3 years ago in Crescent City from scratch. He let us do a car wash at your business. We had very small help getting anywhere in this town on Pop Warner. But now we're on year 3 and we built up teams. We don't have prime real estate. We have Harry Mansfield to play at. We would just like access to working lights over there. Our middle school is charging our Pop Warner girls to practice cheerleading in their own gymnasium in the town we pay to practice that. We're in a not so pleasant side of town playing football. Most parents don't want to travel there to watch their kids. So we're doing the best we can. If we could just get our town's help to let us use their lights.
Okay, that is, I'm glad Mayor Peterson is here. Because that's a city issue there. And I will say that I've been in contact with, can't remember the young man that's one of us involved in it. But, Andre, yeah. So anyway, and the county field out by the YMCA on Union Avenue, soccer is such a big program, there's no room for them. Their times overlap. But I did talk to Tim Ross, the athletic director of high school, and he said he'd be more than happy to allow them to practice on one of the baseball fields. So, but again, you may have issues with lights there.
Well, we need lights, but we've hit resistance on, last year we lost a ton of money. We can't make money for our teams because if it rains in Crescent City, which I've played sports my whole life, we play in the rain. But if it rains on that field, our boys are not to play on that field because it can mess up that field.
Oh, the high school field?
Yes, which
yeah,
I don't understand.
Can't do much about that one, so, okay.
But we'd like to get more assistance from our town, and these boys and girls deserve, to be in a safe place and play ball.
I understand that, yes ma'am. Okay, any more questions?
I'll do it
Yes,
again.
ma'am.
Do you see any future for animal control? Are we just going to say, hide it back there in the dump and forget about it?
Okay, I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna let everybody up here. Sarah, we might let you talk about animal control. When you campaign, you learn a lot. You meet a lot of interesting people, and you hear a lot of things, okay? But I've probably heard more about the animal control and animal control facility more than anything, more than roads, garbage, whatever it is. So I'm gonna tell you, every one of these commissioners up here and staff, we want a new facility, okay? We have put aside some money from Better Place Plan for that facility. It's not enough to build the facility. We want to build it right one time. We had an appropriation from the state, and I'm not joking. We have the big check. It's this big, okay? It's in Administrator Suggs' office. How much was it for? $500,000. Well, that's how sure Representative Payne thought we were going to get it. And he deserves a lot of credit. But the governor vetoed it at the last minute. And we did not get the appropriation again this year. we'll ask for it again in the upcoming session, which is in January. So I'm going to hand this over to Administrator Suggs first, but I believe each commissioner wants to address that.
I'm not being put on the spot, but absolutely, we have talked about this long enough, and we do have money that the commissioner said is in the Better Place plan for this. We did seek some additional funding last year from the state. Thought we were going to be successful. We weren't. We will try again this year, and hopefully we will be. But I'll sit here tonight and tell you that we are putting together a site selection committee, and we are going to find a piece of property in Putnam County, and we will break ground this year. And we will be moving it from the landfill.
Budget year, not this year. It'll be 2020.
Thank you for the correction. When I talk budget, I mean starting October 1. But it is still progress. Thank you very much, because you're absolutely right. Probably with the exception of roads and drainage, animal control is the most calls I get at Putnam County. And where it's located is not in a very good location. We know that. We need to make it more viable to be able to provide the services for all of our residents when it comes to our animals. But we also need to be very careful where we put it, locate it, and how we pay for it. And so we're looking at every option available to us, but there will be movement this year. You heard it from me. Absolutely.
So, springboard off of what's been said, there is $750,000 that was part of the $4 million that Mr. Reynolds talked about that was carried forward in the BPP. It is secure, it's not going anywhere. Whether or not it's enough to build a shelter is yet to be seen. I personally believe it is. We have to find a piece of property first. The piece of property that was earmarked fell through. It's not going to be usable. So we're in the process of getting that. You have an active Citizens Advisory Committee for your animal control. They're working diligently right now. Mr. DeFranco, if you raise your hand back there, he can tell you what they're doing. And they're working to get some floor plans together, and as soon as the site's selected, they can start working towards getting a building put together on it that we can put in. But there is $750,000 that is set aside for the building that's not going to go anywhere.
I'll turn it over to Mr. Turner, but we would like to use the state's money rather than BPP money, so we're still going to try to get some state money.
We've actually been working on this ever since I came. Government is frustratingly slow. It aggravates the fire out of me on a regular basis. First thing we had to do is figure out where the money was coming from. Better Place plan, we thought we had the 500, we didn't have it. It's probably gonna end up being built in some kind of phases. It's gonna be built in what's absolutely necessary. This is just me speaking, and I can say it in this meeting because there's no violation. I can't talk to these guys outside of a real meeting about this, but in my opinion, I think we need to build it in phases. We need to maybe keep the facility that they have right now out at the landfill for part of it, and then build a new phase that they can afford wherever the site selection committee puts it at a better location. I understand that a lot of the animals that they bring into this they shouldn't come into the facility without some kind of a quarantine or a checkup or something. So maybe that other facility could be used for that portion of it for a while until they're ready to be moved forward. And then it can always be put in later when the money's available to be able to do it. But yes, I'd like to see us break ground next year. I was kind of hoping we'd be able to break ground this year, but when the 30 acres that was donated to the county, only like 3 acres of it, or 2 point something acres of it was buildable property. The rest of it was wetland that they couldn't use. So that's why the selection committee has to be formed in a new piece of property.
Let me go a little bit further on that. That 3 acres he's talking about wasn't in one area. So it just wasn't enough, but we have looked at all sorts of different building plans, and like he was saying, we'll build this that we can utilize now, utilize in the other area. I mean, we've hashed around a lot of these different ideas, but it is coming. This thing is, I'd say at least once a month, this is brought up. What we're gonna do, how we're gonna do, what's going on with the property. We have problems out there, including alligators. I mean, it's just been one headache after the next, but it is coming. We will get it done.
She's typing. Michelle?
When the governor vetoed that, did he just do that across the board for most counties, or was there a reasoning behind the veto?
Terry, you want to answer that? Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else put in for for funding for animal control. All I know is it didn't make it through into the budget this year for whatever reason. We had other things that also were appropriated that didn't make it in the budget. We had support on a couple of other projects that we put in. We're going to continue to move forward those projects and see what happens next fiscal year. I mean, I think we've got good support up in Tallahassee. The commissioner works hard up there. I work hard up there. Representative Payne, Senator Perry works hard for us up there. So we're going to continue to fight the good fight.
If I can make a suggestion, we have got, I mean, this is a very passionate issue in the county. I know right here in Crescent City, there are so many people that work on this and are passionate about it. Use their voices. I mean, when you're in Tallahassee, we need to hear, the governor needs to hear how important this is and the staff does. Use the voices, because we've got people in this surrounding area that are willing to drive there, I'm sure. Barbara, you drive there, wouldn't you? Sure. Absolutely. I'll take a kid with me on my Yeah. And so, just please make sure that let us know. I mean, I'll drive there. Just let us know so that we can get up there and he can, sometimes he will. So let us be a part of that if we can.
Yes, ma'am. If I could, ma'am, there's also, the Animal Control Advisory Committee meets on a regular basis. Right now, they're meeting every other month. But you might want to find out when they meet, and they're open to the public, and you're more than welcome to participate in that as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Coleman?
Yes. Is there anything, far as, Better Place Plans project? Can anyone tell me about, replacing signs, safety signs, stop signs, and, speed control signs, especially, I just live right here at 517 right now. And, it's like, when they see the flashing light, it's like almost like a drag light, they go speed up, they go faster. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was on my scooter, taking the garbage out, and I turned back around the other way, and I had to jump off my scooter because there was they speed over there, and then right there, not me.
I think it's everybody.
Okay. But what I'm saying, is over here, I mean, it's, going, east and west. I mean, they really move through there fast sometimes. And it's like, where's the cop when you need one? Understand? No. What I'm saying is, and right before, it's, the road right there, not Main Street, the next one, Oakwood. There's a school bus that stops there, but there's not a school bus stop sign. And then, when the school bus hits those like that, everybody's surprised to where it's like, hey, stopping there for that. Put a sign up there. And another specific place too is on Denver Road at the trust plant. When you go around the curve that way, stop sign, you don't need it. But going back the other way, And if you're not familiar, there's nothing there. You're thinking the road is still there, and it's not there. That comes to, county road department. They need to go back over there because, a few years ago, I mentioned to the road department, they put those 3 signs, when you come around that curve, you got a stop sign there, you got a stop sign there. But like I say, I'm pretty sure, off and on, we have traveled through those roads there. And like I say, going down the trust plant, if you don't know it, you're gonna go straight through.
That's a dangerous spot.
That's a dangerous spot. I mean, it's like, you know, put those, the red ones there, because like I said, they'll go straight through. Inebriated or not.
Okay. Mr. Coleman, I've got you, and I'll look into and talk to you later about Denver Road. I do believe the speeding issues and some of the other stuff that's in the city.
No, that's a county road right there.
I understand that, but it's in the city limits, so the police department would try to take care of that speeding, and the sheriff is here, and I'm sure they hear that, but you have a city police department also.
Right. No, and the police department and the sheriff department, they're very diligent. They're very diligent. I'm just saying, like, you know, at least the school put a sign up there.
I happen to know the District 1 school board representative quite well. I'll make that note. And you're getting 2 for 1 tonight, but I'll tell her about that.
All right, but you gotta remember something now too, when you said today, happy wife, happy life.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
We're new in town, and we just moved over here on Vernon Road. I can look across the street and see the traffic sign that says 35 miles an hour. I bet this city would be rich if they put a cop out there and caught everyone that went 60 miles an hour entering town.
Yes, ma'am. We get all type of calls from the county commission, and a lot of it is speeding. And we can put signs up, but unless people who want to do the right thing and obey it, and the sheriff's department, the police department, they have to be in the right spot at the right time to catch them, and that's a tough time to do that. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I want to go back to the Public Works Department and the roads, and I want to give you all a thank you. I sent an email in, we had a big hole in the road, it's only 5 houses where we lived. We all came out the next day and fixed it. So I know you get beat up a lot, and rightfully so, you probably all say it's part of your job. But I just want to say thanks for that. We haven't been here that long either.
And where was this?
Denver Road, the Denver Road area.
Okay, Denver Road, that's District 1, isn't it? Yes. And was it, sir, if I can ask you a question, was that where the road started sinking in and they had to operate on? Yeah, that was, we just had that resurfaced, and for some reason, I guess there was an old culvert there that was never recorded, and it started sinking in, and I had one of my customers come in and say, hey, there's a hole out there. Well, I ignored it for a few days, and another guy said, you better go look at that. And I'm glad I did, because they had to cut about a 6 or 7 foot wide strip all the way across the road and dig that up and pack it in. It took about a week for them to fix that. It was bad. So, but thank you. We like thank yous every once in a while.
But now I got to jump on board with the complaint.
Okay.
We're new here, and we absolutely love it. We have been treated very well. It's a hospitable place. The idea is outdoor county, we love it. But sometimes we feel like we can't go outside. You're probably shocked by our bill, but we like to run and bike and walk quite a bit. But that was a joke. If we cite people who aren't obeying this leash law, and I don't mean just a little dog that's yeah. I've had a dog 2 different times bite my tire on my bike.
Yeah.
So I can't even bike into town. If we cite people for this, take the money, would that help the project? Do we have the personnel? Keep hearing no.
Well, yeah, limited staff, and probably what you have to have, unfortunately, because when I get the animal control calls about an animal, harassing, the fence where there's a cat inside or another dog, really, and you're one person's word against another word, and unless really you have pictures to go by, it's really tough to enforce. It really is. Yeah, even then, it is. And it's frustrating because we're very rural. And, do we actually have a leash law?
Yes. Do we have a leash?
Yeah, so anyway, because I've got, in my neighborhood, there's 3 or 4 dogs that just roam, but they don't present any problem. But yes, you're right. And it's the staff and trying to enforce that.
Click it and check it.
Yeah. Alan?
I see in neighborhoods, we've had in our neighborhood for a while. Talk to your neighbors.
Accountability, now that's a good idea.
That's all, all problem.
Hello.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, in closing, any commissioners want to make any comments? Anything? Okay.
This is government, by the way. Everybody in this room, we are the government. It's about us. It's for us, by us, remember that? So, kudos to you for pointing out, but the personal accountability thing is a big deal. And, if you see people speeding, if you see a dog off the leash or a kid acting out, that's where personal accountability comes in, and it would make our community a lot better if we had more face-to-face communication between neighbors. Because government's not the answer, we're the answer.
Very good.
Administrator Suggs? any closing remarks?
Just that, this was excellent. This was very, very helpful for us as staff to be able to hear some of the complaints and actually put some of the, you can put a name of the face for us now. And one thing I'll say, and some of you here know that because you've been there, there's a different mentality in Putnam County right now as far as the county administration's office is concerned. We have got staff that wants to participate, wants to provide solutions, and we have an open door policy. And so I encourage each and every one of you, if you have a question or a concern or a solution that you want to share with me, please do. And we got 72,000 residents in Putnam County, and we want to do the best we can for all of you, and that's why we're here tonight. And hopefully you'll take advantage of that and give us a call and let us know what we can do to assist and offer some solutions as well.
Okay. In closing, I want to thank Sheriff Deloach and Colonel Joe Wells for attending, Mr. Kenny Downs for coming down, staff, commissioners, Ms. Sarah, Bob Stender, Brenda Bridges, and get everybody, Miss Shirley and Vic, and Vic and Jim, and Miss Judy West, Mayor Peterson. Just really thank you, sir, for being here, and thank you for a good crowd. I believe this is more than what was in Interlochen. But this is District 1, so I expected that. Okay. So anyway, I really want to thank Ms. Barbara Hersick and the whole membership of the Crescent City Women's Club for hosting this. And so if there's any other further business to come before this meeting, we stand adjourned.